Okay, you guys, let's make some pretty pies. So I've prepared a batch of the pie crust that I have linked at the bottom of this post, and it's important for these fancy pies that you have a pie crust that is not really super crumbly. It won't be really easy to make these thin strips and braids if your pie crust has big chunks of butter or shortening and is really crumbly. So I like this recipe that I have linked because it is made in the food processor, so it incorporates those pieces really well and you don't have a lot of big chunks, so it's easier to use. Go ahead and roll out. We're going to make a standard bottom pie crust, and so we're just going to roll out and get it into the pie pan. Just making sure I have it nice and thin. Don't want a super thick pie crust or it won't bake really well. It'll have kind of a gummy crust on the bottom. So this is about 1/8 of an inch. Just make sure, yep. Press it down into the bottom of the pan. Don't stretch your dough. Okay, now you're going to trim it right at the edge of your pie plate. And don't crumple up your extra dough. We're going to use that to cut out some of our embellishments. Just set that aside. Now fill your pie crust with whatever your pie flavor is. I'm doing an apple pie. I also love apple blackberry, apple huckleberry, apple blueberry. I love mixing berries into my apple pie, but this is a straight apple. I also have my apple pie filling recipe in the blog as well. Just make sure you get it in there and arranged really nice and tight so that there's no big gaps with the apples. I'm going to get in there and do it with my hands here in a minute once I get all the apples in. This is the messy part of the job. You really just want to get in there and make sure your apples are nice and compact. Try and get it as level as you can at the top, or as even as you can at the top. We want basically as level as a surface as we can to put our lattice across the top. Okay, I think that's about as good as this is gonna get, so I'm gonna go wash up and then we'll put the lattice on the top. Now we're going to put this off to the side and grab our other big piece of dough. the other half of our dough. Gonna roll this out as well to the 8-inch thick. It doesn't have to be perfectly circular. We're actually going to be cutting strips out of this one. So I go for more of a rectangle. Again, about 1/8 of an inch thick. I'm going to start by using my pastry cutter that cuts multiple strips at once. If you don't have this, you can just do one strip at a time. And in that case, I would use a ruler and just a pastry wheel and cut strips like that. We're going to do one section that is all the same width. I'm going to do a couple of wider strips. And then a couple of nice and thin strips. Nice and thin. Being gentle not to stretch these as you move them. I'm going to do another medium strip, and I'm going to braid this piece. Set this part aside for now. On this piece that I just cut for braiding, I'm going to split it into thirds, but not all the way to the top. Leave a little uncut section there at the top. Now we're going to braid this. So gently, without stretching the dough, start braiding. I like to do a fairly tight braid, but it just depends on the look that you want. Gently maneuver your dough so you're not stretching it. This is the part that takes a bit of time, so just be patient. Getting down to the end here where I've touched it a lot, so it's looking a little funky. So I'm going to cut it off. Squeeze your ends together and then cut just below your squeeze so it doesn't unravel. Now we're going to bring our pie back over. Again, make sure you have crust all the way up over the edge here so that you have a base to put your edge crust and your embellishments to attach to. Just going to wet it with a touch of water. Use it as a glue to glue your edges down. to start by laying strips one direction, and then we're going to weave them. So I'll do a lattice pattern. So start on this edge, and then I'm going to alternate and do thicker and thinner pieces fairly close together. And just kind of a random pattern. I'm not going to do any specific thin, thick, thin, thick. It's just going to be random. And I'm going to put a braid in there. Off your excess and get it out of your way, and you can actually use some of these pieces as well. Now we're going to start weaving in some more pieces. Probably going to need to cut a few more first. I'm running out, so bring this back over. I'll cut myself a few more random sized strips. Now you could get creative and do specific patterns with your lattice. I like to do something like thick, thin, thin, thick. But just get creative. Random is nice too. Okay, we're going to try to save the rest of that for the outer crest, the braid around the edge. Now to start weaving your lattice, you're going to pull back every other one. Hopefully they haven't stuck. Okay, so every other piece here. Let's make sure the braid is crimped on the end so it's not going to unravel. Make sure you're going at a 90-degree to the other stripes. And bring these back over. Just being gentle. You don't want to misshape them or stretch them. Now pull back the ones that you left last time. And you can do as tight or as loose of a weave as you want. I'm doing mine kind of medium. I'm not putting the strips super close together. You could do that if you want a lot more of a coverage on top. So just continue that process, folding back every other one and then putting them back and repeating. Trying to keep everything in a straight line. Towards the end here, I'm going to piece a couple together, trying to make sure that a join is going to go underneath one of the overlapped pieces. So it hides it. Trim off anything that's hanging over the edge of the pie plate. And then just go down and press all the pieces down, all the ends of them down, to attach them to that base crust. Now we need to make a bunch more braids. I'm going to do a little bit of a different type of braid for this one. And then we're going to put them all the way around the edge. Now the last time I kept everything straight and I overlapped without twisting, so flat, flat, and then flat. This time I'm actually going to fold it and turn it upside down. And it's just going to give a little bit of a different look to the braid. So every time you fold over, you're flipping your strip upside down. Makes a tighter braid as well. Pinch the end so it doesn't unravel, and set that aside. And you're going to need enough to go around the whole pie, so you're going to need several of these. Okay, let's take a look at where we're at here. We're gonna dab a little bit more water around the edge. A little more water to glue down our braid. You don't want a lot, just a very light little bit. Cut a clean end on your first braid and start with that piece, pressing it down, and then just working your way around, pressing it as you go. Try not to stretch it too much. And once you get to the end, you can cut that last little edge clean. And bring in your next one. Clean up your end. Keep working your way around. Okay, now we're going to do a couple little decorative elements. So grab some of your dough. You don't want these too thick, so make sure you got some fairly thin pieces. And I like to use various cutters. I'm using my little plunger cutters. Use cookie cutters, you can cut by hand. I'm going to cut out a few leaves and flowers. I like these plunger cutters because they have an imprint pattern. When you press down on the plunger, you get a pretty little imprint. I don't know if you can see that. Let's put a little water on the back of them. I'm going to put these over in the joined spots on the braid, just to cover up that little spot a little bit. That's it, all done. Now you're going to bake this as you would bake your pie normally. Apple pie I'm putting in at 450 for 10 minutes, and then I'm turning down the heat to 375 for about another 40 minutes. Just watch your crust. You don't want it to get overly dark, and these do tend to get, because they're nice thin strips, you just want to watch it and make sure that you're not burning it. You can always turn the oven down a little bit more if you think it's getting too dark. All right, we'll be back with a beautiful baked pie. Okay, our pretty pie is all done. I like to embellish with a few fresh flowers. I have some rosemary and some jasmine, some lavender here. So make sure you're using either edible flowers or non-toxic flowers if you're going to embellish with any flowers. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the pie tutorial, and be sure to subscribe to my channel, Shani's Sweet Creations. You can also join my Facebook page, Shani's Sweet Creations, and Instagram is Shani's Sweet Art, and my blog is also shanysweetart.com. Have a sweet day, you guys.